Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. I'm breaking out the archives. This is, let's see, June of 2020. Wow. Another nice looking issue. This was 132 pages. And let's see what I was doing. Oh, I was at a Georgia Swarm game looking at the championship trophy way back when. I had a little more hair and it wasn't as gray, but there you go. You know, that's me. But always nice to hold the magazine in my hands and look at it. We went 100% digital back in August of 2021 and haven't looked back. Had 3.5 million people hit our website last month, 200,000 unique users. And thank you to all of you out there that found us on the web. We really appreciate you visiting the site and coming back more than once a month. So once again, we appreciate you out there finding us out there on the wild, wild web. So beautiful day here, 80 degrees in the ATL. A lot of pollen, a lot of green dust on everything. All the trees are blooming, and you don't wash your car for the next 6 weeks because the minute you do it, you're just going to have green dust all over it. So, just, no humidity, not a cloud in the sky. You couldn't have asked for, it's been raining for like the last month. I live up by the lake, and the lake is overflowing with water. But right now, if you have allergies, the South is not where you want to be. You better have some Claritin or something because there's going to be green dust for the next 6 weeks. And by early May, it's gone. Everything's bloomed and, it's over. But it's green dust time here in the ATL. I mean, it's just over everything. You can't get rid of it. So that said, I'm going to introduce our guest. Her name is Amanda Kaminsky, and she's the Director of Sustainable Construction for Lendlease Americas. She's out of the Big Apple. So, Amanda, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hi, everybody. Hi from New York City.
Yeah. Listen, I grew up in New York City. I went to PS 158. We used to have our apartment on 75th and 3rd, and I went to 80th York, John Jay Public Schools way back
Nice.
when, and the Bentley School. I forget where it was, like 68th and Park. And parents had a showroom. We were in upholstery at 32nd and Lex, and I still have all family up there and stuff. And I'm in New York. My dad was from New York, and my mom was from Philly. So
Oh,
I
no
got
way.
Yes, I got the twang from both. I say water, and I'm a New Yorker. Now I'm down here in the South since '92, so I've kind of lost my twang.
So,
But
what sports teams do you root for, David? With all of that
you know what?
history?
I'm from Philly, so I root for the Eagles, but the Rangers were my team when I was. I'm a hockey player, so Brad Park was my idol. I ran board number 22 all the way through my prep school and hockey career in college, and so that's yeah. But in Atlanta, half the people that go to sports, I don't care if it's baseball, football, yeah, everybody's a transplant here. I know very,
Yep.
very few people that are locals. So when you go to a sporting event here in Atlanta, half the stadium has the other team's jerseys on it. So it's I'm surprised there aren't more fights in there because it's just the Braves. I don't care what it is. I'm telling you, there's so many transplants here. They just come in droves and they wear their jerseys and. I pull for all the Atlanta teams because I live down here, but when the Eagles, and the certain teams come in, I just want it to be a good game and have fun. I'm watching on the tube. We're good out there.
I'm with
So,
you. Yeah.
yeah. So who do you pull for? I mean, as a
Well,
New
I'm a
York.
little bit the same. So I really like playing sports. I like any. I really am a big fan of live sports and going to games. But I'm not, attached to any one team necessarily. I'm a big soccer fan personally. I play soccer. I coach soccer. I love watching soccer. It's kind of my like Zen sport. So yeah. So that's what I like. But I really like any soccer matches as long as it's kind of a good matchup. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, soccer right now. I do a 5 mile run every night, and I was just down there at the park last night and I do a little positive thought on my video, and I was watching the soccer gods last night out on the green turf, practicing, and it soccer's king down here, especially during the spring. And I'm a lacrosse guy, but the local parks, they don't want the lacrosse guys getting on the soccer fields. I don't understand it. So we're confined to the one turf field, but the soccer guys have like 20 fields. And and on the weekends, I have all my clients are like, "Oh yeah, we're coming down to Atlanta. Got a soccer tournament, and so, so I get it. I get it. And but like I said last time, I'm saying, hey, they're practicing. They're hopefully some of these guys will make it into college, and maybe a couple of them will make it to the big dance and the big boys and
Yep.
professional. And so you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great sport.
So were you a soccer player? Is that
I
why
was
you
a
like it?
soccer player all through growing up, yeah, and pretty serious soccer player. And then I got to college and kind of needed to make a decision because I was going into architecture. The studio sessions were at the same time as soccer practice, and I knew I wasn't gonna be playing professional soccer after college. Getting paid to play soccer. So I kind of needed to make a decision at that point, and I still had a great time playing, co-ed club soccer in college. And so it all worked out great actually. And so
So were you a striker? What were you?
I really like midfield, center midfield, sometimes a little bit more defensive into the stopper position, but center midfield is my favorite because I could never choose between defense and offense. I like both. So you get to do a little bit of both in center midfield, and I like to run. So yeah.
Hey, defense wins games. That's just the reality of it. Someone's got to be
Yep.
back there,
Yep. Yep.
protecting the turf. So,
That's what I
uh,
tell my team. I coach my older daughter's soccer team right now, and it's a pretty casual team. They're good, but it's a rec league, and nobody ever wants to play goalie in that league. And I think there's a lot of glory in being goalie, but there's also a lot of pressure. So, but it's the whole team. If we get scored on, it's the whole team that owns that. That we got scored on. Same thing if we score on the other team. So, just always try to emphasize that kind of team picture to any wins or loses.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Hey, listen, as a lacrosse guy, I played hockey goalie, and I play in the old man's league. And if someone the goalie doesn't show up, I'll go in there and put the pads on and get pelted, and I'll come home with some bruises. But
Yep.
anybody that goes between the pipes, I don't care what it is. That's a special person, and you got to be able to take wins and losses. And now that I know that you're a coach and an athlete, I love talking to athletes because they understand about winning and losing. And then once just like you did, you went to college, you played club, and you weren't gonna go play professional, but you still had thick skin and you understood about winning and losing and how hard it is, but you learn from your mistakes and your losses. You can apply it, and now you into the business world, which is much more competitive than any sports team is. So if you can handle it on the soccer field, running for 45 minutes for two halves, you can probably handle it, in the construction side of things. And this being,
Yeah.
Women's Month and construction and history and everything else, we're honored to have you as our guest. So the way that works is, I know now, I know you're a soccer coach and and a previous athlete. You're going to tell us your bio, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up at Lendlease. Then we'll talk about lessons learned from the last couple of years of the roller coaster that we've all been on. Even though we're kind of out of the tunnel, we're still kind of bouncing over some potholes and a little rough roads here and there. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase in your contact info. So,
Okay.
Amanda, that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Great. Well, actually, I grew up, I guess, not far from where your mother grew up. I grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
And so,
Pottstown for me. That's
oh,
where we
no
grew up.
way. Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boscov's, Reading. I know it
Yes.
well. Right? Am I
That's
right?
where I used to go back to school shopping at Boscom's every August. Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Boscov's. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good place to grow up. And the soccer was good there, so that was good. And you know, interestingly though, that area was going through a lot of change when I was growing up. There was a lot of increased development, expanded development. A lot of the rural area was being turned into strip malls, and a lot of it, that development from my perspective wasn't ideal. The farmland around that area, was a pretty beautiful place, and there's still a lot of it, but a lot of the value of that construction, or the quality of that construction that was coming up, just wasn't my idea of what seemed idealized in my mind of what of beautiful buildings, right? So there's a lot of cool buildings in Reading, Pennsylvania. The church that I grew to growing up was a cool historical building, and just got a lot of exposure to interesting types of architecture. There's a pagoda on the hill in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit crazy, but cool. So I think I early on just started to think a lot about development and what makes good development, what makes for sort of less good development, and the impact of architecture on an experience of a place, right? So then decided to go to University of Virginia in Charlottesville, and a great place to go to college. I went to the architecture school there, and the theoretical and design education was fantastic. I kind of coupled that with also getting to do some volunteering with Habitat for Humanity there for a little bit more of the hands-on aspect of building buildings. And that was a great kind of tandem education, that kind of volunteer experience coupled with all of the great education in school. Got to also do some welding. I took a welding class in the theater department, so that was
good for you.
great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool, actually. Maybe I should have been able to be doing oxyacetylene welds at 2 a.m. by myself in the theater. It was fantastic, actually. It was very freeing and interesting and fun to do metal sculptures and learn how to weld. So I think all of that together really also exposed me to kind of the hands-on construction side of things, which I really enjoyed. I still did, after college, get into architectural design as my first jobs, but very quickly kind of came around to just realizing that I really loved the construction side of things. So
in Pottstown, my family's been in steel demolition recycling since 1888. It's a fifth generation, been around 110, I don't know how many years, but anyway, my cousins are running the shop. But as one of the grandsons, when you got your license at 16 in Pottstown, you had to go work in the scrapyard in the summer. So, I grew up, on cranes down there on Industrial Boulevard down by the Schuylkill River in P-Town. And anyway, it was called Mayor Pollock Steel. If any of you guys out there in commercial construction coffee talk want to check it out, Mayor Pollock Steel, you'll see the green and yellow truck. And anyway, but I shoveled asbestos, I laid railroad tracks, I welded, I did all that stuff. I had to take my shower, get the lead off, or keep OSHA guys happy. And anyway, so I still have my erector set. I built so much stuff with that thing, and but I look back at those days, and I was very fond of it. And at 16, I was making a couple $100 a week at that. Years ago, that was big money.
yeah.
So, but
Oh yeah.
But like I said, we were in recycling before any of that stuff was even a concept. And
Yep.
I had these old Super 8. My grandfather was a combat engineer underneath Patton in World War II. And he went back and they rebuilt all the bridges during the war and afterwards. And all the tanks and Jeeps that came back from the war, they had to cut all that metal up and recycle it and stuff.
Oh
And we
yeah.
have all the old videos that we've put on, discs. So,
Wow.
yeah. So all that, sustainability and I kind of, yeah, I did that. But, I didn't even know what that word was way back when, I was
Yeah.
really worried. Yeah, I got my license. Now I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And my Uncle Frank, he was my first super. In the scrapyard, and he was one tough son of a gun. May he rest in peace. But I learned a lot from you, Uncle Frank. He scared the heck out of me. So I always learn, man. You better be early because you don't want to have to deal with Uncle Frank, man. Because Uncle Frank, he didn't like you being late. Yeah, you're second late, man. You're in deep trouble. I'm gonna tell your grandfather. So.
That is a good lesson to learn. I always actually with coaching. the kids on my team always get to, if the earlier you show up, the more chances you get to pick your position for that match. And I have an idea of how I want the players positioned on the field just based on different strengths, but usually because nobody ever wanted to play goalie, whoever shows up last always gets to play goalie.
Better late than never.
That's right.
Be early, don't be late.
That's right.
Whatever it is, if you don't want to go between the pipes, that's for sure. So let's talk about like the last 3 years. So March 2020, everything goes kaput. It's a couple of weeks. Here we are 4 years later, kind of still talking about things, but we've come out of the tunnel, and there's still a little bumps here and there that people are dealing with. Still with the labor shortage. I think the products and stuff have come down, and but there's still some shortages here or there. Depending on the product sector. Talk about how your firm kind of weathered the storm per se, and lessons learned that our audience out there in commercial construction coffee talk might find valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that in the early days of the pandemic, I got it was sort of the fruits of many years of labor, but a couple of ASTM standards that I had been collaborating on with a bunch of people got published then. And so it was because so much else sort of was a little slower and quieter, we had some time to kind of dig into actual implementation of these standardized specifications and rolling them out into innovation in the field. And so that takes time. And sometimes, when everything's really hectic and busy, it's a little hard to actually get to the implementation phase with some new, new technologies, new innovations. So in a way, I sort of appreciated being able to do that more thoughtfully and carefully than would have otherwise been possible. So, really looking for the silver lining. That's for me what it was. At that time, I had my own consultancy, and this was, I joined Lendlease in 2022, about 2 years ago now, and yeah, so for me, it provided a little bit more space to maybe be a little bit more thoughtful, think a little bit more deeply about other collaborations that might be possible with a little bit more time that all of us had in our hands, because there was some stagnancy in some of the projects that we were working on, And so sometimes those slowdowns, so it was sort of the same thing in 2008 through 2011, where at first it was a little scary, then it allowed me, some time to consider, to kind of rejig and stop for a second and think about, okay, what's most important here to focus on, to prioritize, and in that slowdown, and really go all in on some aspects that weren't really getting enough attention or time previously. So, and then of course things pick back up, and when they pick back up, you're kind of more primed and ready to really go 100% on those things that kind of mattered a little bit more than what was getting a lot of your time previously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, when you were at UVA, were there females in your class, or was it very lopsided?
Yeah. It wasn't super lopsided, actually. I mean, I don't know exactly what the percent breakdown was. We had about 95 or so architecture students in my year in my class, and I don't know. I'm going to guess that at least 30% or 40% were female. So it was pretty good numbers at that point. Yeah. Now, in the field now, I would say, especially on the sustainability side of things, there's a lot of women in construction, not a lot of women, but increasingly, there's more and more. And so, I think any profession benefits from that sort of diversity, from gender diversity, but also other sorts of diversity and background, because there's always things that, we always have blind spots, right? If we're not kind of bringing in a more diverse group of folks to offer their viewpoint and also experience.
Hey, listen, women and men are completely wired differently. So even though their division, it's just nice to have that counterbalance. And as I look back, I remember when someone said, "Hey, how come you don't have more ladies on your cover?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And then I looked, I was like, "Wow, about half my circulation is female." So,
Huh.
and I always said, I was like, I don't know why there aren't more females, because men don't like go to shop. They don't like to shop, or whatever. And the women understand what dressing rooms need to be, or how wide aisles need to be in a retail store, or what have you. And that there should be more of them involved. And now, just during my run yesterday, someone had bought a house, and houses go quick there. Anyway, she was installing a floor, and she was out by the dumpster, and I was running by. I was like, "Hey, you flooring star?" She said, "Yeah." And she had her pads on, and I said, "Good for you," and she was like, "All right." I said, "This is Women's in Construction Month, so we like it." So it's exciting to see all that out there. And so as far as yourself, what exciting projects are you working on right now? If you don't want to say any names, just in general, what are some of the cool things that you have in the pipeline coming down the road?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different aspects of our One Java project on the Brooklyn waterfront in Greenpoint that are really exciting. Consistently across all of our work, I'm collaborating with our teams a lot on innovations in concrete, and so at One Java, which is an all geothermal project. That foundation, the concrete foundation, includes cement replacement with ground glass pozzolan. So it's literally bottle glass from municipal recycling that has been ground down into a powder that is replacing 40% of the cement in that foundation concrete. And it's not just a filler in that concrete; it's actually pozzolanic and helping the concrete gain strength in that concrete. And it's also making it less permeable. So as we go through, the freeze thaw cycles that we go through, that prevention of water infiltration prevents cracking through the freeze thaw cycles over subsequent years. So it's actually a better performing concrete that ended up, being the same cost as standard concrete. But the reason that we didn't just kind of do this for fun in order to, try a new material. Currently, cement is one of the most egregious emitters of greenhouse gas emissions, and so we're trying to really look at we're going to be needing concrete on almost all of our projects, on really all of our projects, unless it's a retrofit, right? And so that cement component is obviously critical in concrete, and so we're looking at ways to reduce the impact of the energy intensive impact of making that cement. And so if we can replace as much of that cement as possible, that's what we're trying to do. At the same time, typically people are using fly ash or slag, byproducts from coal-fired power and steel manufacture, to replace cement in concrete mixes over the last, 20, 30 years. That material is becoming shorter and shorter in supply. And so we're looking at diversifying our alternatives in making well-performing, but using available materials, making well-performing concrete using materials that are locally available and predicted to be available in the foreseeable future. And so that was how we honed in on glass. And that was actually one of the ASTM standards that we, over the course of about 4.5 years, were able to get finalized in 2020. That really enables our engineering team to feel comfortable with the quality controlling, having that standard in place. Anytime you're working with a new material, an innovative material like that, even if it's a material that's been around for a long time, like glass has been, it's a new use of that material. And so having that ASTM standard in place was really important. And so then it was really great, on that Java project over the last, year or so, to be able to put that into that foundation concrete and have it perform so well. So great kind of step forward that we're hoping to replicate on other projects.
It's amazing what they've done across, the East River there, in Brooklyn, from when I was living there and what it looks
Yep.
like today. I mean, it's just amazing. And, you growing up in Reading and myself in Pottstown, I had to go back for my grandmother's funeral, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. May she rest in peace. Anyway, I hadn't been home in a while, so I flew into Allentown, took her out
Yep.
on 100 into Pottstown, went to the funeral, and then I flew out of Philly. So I took the 422 bypass past Limerick, into
Yep.
Valley Forge. And that used to just be all rolling hills of cornfields and
Yep.
green. And then I went and I looked in all of the pharmaceutical companies and whatever, and it was just unbelievable of the urban sprawl. And the same thing between Reading and Pottstown too. I mean,
Yeah.
you could tell when you're Reading out of Pottstown, you get in the country, and then you come into Reading, on 422, and it's all built up. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It
I
is
was
kind of
blown
crazy.
away. I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. You definitely need to use Google Maps now because there's like different overpasses and bypasses all of a sudden. You're like, whoa. Yeah, it's great. And I don't drive very much because we live in New York City here and we don't have a car because
Mhm.
it's more of a burden to have a car than a benefit here.
Oh yeah.
And so we take Amtrak anytime. So my parents live in Lancaster now. And so Amtrak's super easy. So we just take Amtrak. And anytime I drive around that area, it's like a whole new world every single time I drive.
Well, they still, listen, when I grew up, they were doing construction in Valley Forge, and they still have orange barrels up or wherever. That place is just, Valley Forge is like endless. I don't know where they're getting all this done, but there's always orange barrels around that place. Getting on the Schuylkill Expressway, where it begins. And
Yep. Yep.
so, oh yeah, oh yeah. So, um, if someone wanted to reach out to you and talk, construction or from Unlease or was looking for some ideas or help and so forth, how would some of our audience members out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, how would they reach out to you to touch base?
Best way is through my LinkedIn profile. I monitor that, and the messaging through that profile is pretty robust. So that would be the best way, and that way people also get a little context for what I'm up to because I post there. So that's probably the best way.
All right. So listen, LinkedIn, we know you're all on there. If you're not, you need to be. Uh, and if you want to reach out to Amanda and bounce some questions off her or talk about concrete and, the use of glass and whatever as an alternative material to, traditional concrete, please reach out to her. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. And once again, Amanda's publicist, reach out to me. I like this, I like the bio and so forth, and that's how she got on here. So, send us stuff. We look for everything. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we look at everything. We post every day, and don't judge the book by cover. I always tell you, if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win the lottery. So if you don't send me something, I can look at it and post it. And if we do post it, we send you the URL so you can share it. It's good for our SEO, which is search engine optimization, so Google can find you and point you in the right direction. So send us in. It could be, a new product launch, personnel. Like this month is Women in Construction Month. We just been posting like crazy every day, giving kudos to all the women out there in the construction. Actually, in a lot of stuff. It's not just construction. It's just Women's History Month. And so send us stuff. We love looking at it, and I answer all my new emails, and turnaround time is probably about 24 to 48 hours, but we definitely post. So send us stuff, and we'll always look at it. So with that, Amanda, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd want to leave with our listeners out there as we end Q1 and go into Q2 and the remainder of the year, what would it be?
Probably that there's a lot of impetus to focus on innovation right now, given a lot of the transition that our energy systems are going through, our grids. And so kind of diversifying your options, whether it be material sourcing or mechanical, electrical, plumbing equipment, whatever else. I think there's a benefit to all of us in keeping our minds open and piloting some new technologies, and that's something that we're pretty excited about, and we're seeing a lot of great options, in concrete, but also in some of the systems that we're using in our buildings. So I think just being open to that, because there's a benefit to diversified options, no matter what role you're playing in the construction industry.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, listen, being flexible and looking at new things, you might try something that might not be good for you, but it might be great for someone else, but at least you know how it works. And it's always good. I mean, just look at as a soccer player, look at what cleats were way back when and how soccer. I can go down the list, and everything, it's still played the same way, but the equipment's better and people are faster and all those things. So when new products come out, I'm the kind of the type like if there's I like when a new product, I like to look at it, but I like to give it a year, let them get the kinks out of it, just like a new car or a new phone, whatever it might be. Let them get the kinks out of it. There's always going to be something that comes up, and then I'm ready to kind of look at it. And
Yeah, I'd like to get the kinks out. I'm like, we're kind of in that space right now where we're doing a lot of piloting, just because we feel like we're learning a lot from the piloting, but we also like to share the information after we pilot with our clients, with all of our partners that we're working with, and it requires a lot of partners to pilot. So, yeah, and I think just going back to the soccer analogy, I think when you are trying new things, it takes everybody's working on kind of their own as a team player. You're kind of working on your own skills, but then in order to kind of get that ball down the field and into the goal, it takes like kind of being close enough to your teammates, but also far enough apart that you can pass. And so I think there's a lot of different roles to play in all of what we're doing, and just being smart about not reinventing the wheel, but also, constantly working on, that continuous improvement on your own, but also with your partners is really important.
absolutely, absolutely. Yesterday I was down. I have a couple different routes that I do my run every day. So yesterday I was down by this. They have a local community farm that it's insecure. It's got a fence around it. So I was walking the fence line, and I was telling people, look, we should all grow things and learn how to grow. And the growing process, there's a couple stages. There's you plant the seed, then you learn how to nurture it and grow it, then you harvest whatever you're growing, and then you're the consumer going to sell it, and then you're going to repeat it. And it's just project management 101. And I was kind of talking, in a sports analogy on my video where I said, look, when you start out a sport, you got to learn, then you practice, you grow, and then you get really good, and then you learn how to win and lose, and then you do it all over because during the week you practice, and then on game day you're going to play as you practiced all that week. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just learning new things and learning from your wins and losses, and hopefully more wins than losses. But to me, they're all good things, and believe me, I have
Yep.
plenty of losses and plenty of wins. I don't even know what
Yep.
my record would be, but you know how it goes.
I do.
And
Yeah.
you know, and UVA's got an awesome lacrosse team. I don't know if they're going to make it into the March Madness. I haven't even looked at those brackets or anything, but anyway, always have a good lacrosse team, both men's and women's, by the way.
Uh-huh.
So you
Yep.
know. Uh, with that said, a couple things before I sign off. Number one, if you're out on the construction site, we want you to be safe. All right. So you can get home, have dinner with your wife or your husband, see your kids, relax, catch some Z's, and be able to go do it another day. Number two, uh, stay hydrated. See, I'm drinking my electrolytes because I got to go out and do my run later. Bottom line is hydration is like so key from as an athlete or a construction worker, whatever. It's nice down here, but all of a sudden about June, God's going to flick the switch and it's going to be hot and humid out there. So when you get dehydrated, you get headaches. That's where you make mistakes or you get hurt on the athletic field. Same thing on the construction site. Make sure you stay hydrated, stay liquefied, all right? And drink lots of water, put some of the electrolytes in there, and you'll be better. And lastly, hit the like button out there. We want to get this episode out there, so people can find us with the algorithms and so forth and hear Amanda's story. So make sure you hit that, and we'd appreciate it. So Amanda, pleasure talking to a Hoosier, right? UVA, right?
Yep.
The Who,
Go
and
Who's. Yep.
the Who's, and it was who was I watching the play last week? I think it was John Hopkins. I don't know. It was a great game anyway. Listen, they've got a great team, and we used to go down to Lynchburg when I was in prep school in New Jersey, and we would go down. We scrimmaged Lynchburg and we scrimmaged from UVA, as seniors, and it was amazing thing going to UVA to go practice on the field way back when, and Virginia is a cool state. I mean, it's got a lot of history in UVA and Charlottesville and all that. It's what an awesome place to go, and great ACC school, and good luck to them if they get in either the men's or the women's in March Madness, and good luck to them. So, with that said, Amanda, say goodbye to our audience out there from New York.
Thanks, David, and goodbye, everybody. Signing off from above Grand Central here at 200 Park, where Lendlease's offices are.
Awesome. And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, which is just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 20, maybe 30 miles, depending where you're coming from, just north of the ATL. And everybody, TGIF tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend. Get rid of all the the negativity. Relax, recharge your battery, and get ready to do it all again next week. And put only positive thoughts in there, and have a smile, and start your day off with a winning attitude, and you'll just enjoy your day and laugh a little. It's just fun. It's just fun. Better to live life laughing and smiling, I assure you. So with that said, Amanda, if when I come to New York, I want to come meet you in person.
I know.
All right, sounds good. So everybody out there, have a great rest of the day and enjoy the weekend ahead. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Amanda, thank you again. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Go Who's. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, David.
You bet. Ciao, everybody.